Hello, and welcome to this presentation on the Spring 2022 MyAccess Administration. This presentation is brought to you by the Michigan Department of Education's Office of Educational Assessment and Accountability, or the OEAA. The topics we will focus for this presentation will start with what's new this year, then choosing the proper assessment for students, outlining the roles of coordinators and administrators, as well as activities before, during, and after the testing. The questions section will provide an email for anyone to submit questions. So, let's get started. MyAccess has a new science assessment that will be administered in grades 5, 8, and 11, which were formerly grades 4, 7, and 11, is designed to properly align with the new general standards for all Michigan students and is administered at all levels of MyAccess, FI, SI, and P. The changes this year to the item counts of each assessment is in science and highlighted in yellow. The CR stands for constructed response, the SR for selected response, and ABO stands for activity-based observations. For functional independence, ELA, accessing print, in grades 3 through 8 and 11, we have 41 items and 2 constructed response prompts for the expressing ideas. Mathematics at all grade levels, 3 through 8 and 11, contains 34 items. Science tests have 36 items for grade 5 and 51 items for both grades 8 and 11. Social Studies has 40, 42, and 52 items in grades 5, 8, and 11, respectively. The supported independence and participation levels of the assessment have also changed for science. There are 20 items for ELA and mathematics for the supported independence, and 15 items for the participation level. For Science SI, there are 18 items for grades 5 and 23 for grades 8 and 11. For participation, the total for grade 5 is 16 and 20 for grade 8 and 11. While Michigan does not offer a state-level social studies assessment at the SI or P levels, it is important to note that students must still be assessed using a locally determined tool, and the assessment used and the outcome should be documented in the secure site during the test verification window in June. This is the same procedure that the state has been requiring over the past several years. Unlike general assessments, the MyAccess assessments are for students whose IEP has determined this is the most appropriate test to participate in. Let's take a closer look at how these decisions are made. It is important to have an overall understanding of who should take MyAccess and specifically which level of the MyAccess assessments. MyAccess is designed for students with the most significant cognitive disabilities who are working towards alternate content expectations in their daily instruction and for whom the IEP team has determined the general assessment is not appropriate even with accommodations. MyAccess is not designed for students with mild disabilities. While all students taking MyAccess must have an IEP, not every student with an IEP necessarily takes MyAccess. Most students with IEPs take the general assessments. Within MyAccess, there are 3 levels of testing, which are functional independence, supported independence, and participation assessments. Let's start with the functional independence assessment, often referred to as FI. Students at this level have IEP instructional goals and objectives that closely align to the high range of complexity when working towards the alternate expectations. Students at this level are typically aware of their personal strengths and limitations, can access resources, strategies, and supports to help them maximize their independence. It's important to note that they're not working towards the general content standards. The Supported Independence Assessment, or SI, is for students whose IEP instructional goals and objectives are aligned closely to the medium range of complexity when working towards the alternate expectations. Students at this level require ongoing support in major life roles and may have multiple impairments that limit their ability to generalize or transfer learning. The instructional approach taken is usually direct, in context, and targeted towards specific essential independent living and academic skills. The participation assessment is for students whose IEP instructional goals and objectives align closely to the low range of complexity when working towards the alternate content expectations. These students require extensive individualized instruction and support as part of their daily routine. The instructional approach for these students target opportunities for them to integrate into age-appropriate tasks and activities related to daily living skills and academic content. How do I know which assessment my student should be taking? There are 3 guiding questions for IEP teams to ask. Number 1. Is the student identified as eligible for special education services? If the student is not eligible for special education services, then My Access is not an option for that student. Number 2, what is the student's instruction based on? Is it based on the general content standards or the alternate content standards? Students who are working towards the alternate content expectations should be taking the alternate assessment, My Access. Students working towards the general content standards should be taking the general assessment, M-STEP or MME for 11th graders. And then number 3, we often get the question, how do I know if my student has or functions as if they have a significant cognitive impairment? We have a document called Guidelines for Participation in My Access on the webpage that includes questions that should and should not be considered when answering this question. Let's take a look at it. The Guidelines for Participation in My Access document may be found in the opening header of the My Access webpage. This document provides a simple yes-no decision flowchart diagram to take you through the selection process of each level of My Access. IEP teams may find this 2-page document helpful when deciding if a student should take My Access and what level of testing. The second page of this document provides specific factors that should and should not be considered when deciding to administer My Access. To complement the selection process for making alternate assessment decisions, we have 2 selection tools that will assist you and your staff to better determine which students will take the My Access tests. These tools may be found in the Assessment Training and Resources for Educators section of the My Access webpage. The first highlighted tool is the Assessment Selection Guidance Training. This is a recorded presentation to walk you through each step of the decision process. The second tool, or the Assessment Selection Guidance Interactive Decision-Making Tool, is an adaptive tool for IEP teams to navigate several questions leading to a final decision for the student. Both of these are excellent training tools for everyone involved in the My Access testing decisions and administration. Some have asked over the years if students can be assessed in more than one type of the My Access assessments, and the answer is yes. Students may be assessed using multiple levels of the tests. For example, FI can be combined with SI. For example, a student may be assessed with FI Math and SI with ELA assessments. SI and P can likewise be used. For example, SI for the ELA assessment and participation for science can be administered. The test types must be adjacent types of the test, such as FI and SI or SI and P. Non-adjacent types may not be used, for example, using FI and P. Each content area must be completed in just one type. In other words, you cannot split the ELA between FI and SI. PSAT in grade 8 may be combined with FI. Special note, ELA and mathematics must be administered as a unit. The flexibility extends between MSTEP and MyAccess for FI only. The SI and P cannot be used with MSTEP. All decisions for multiple levels of assessments must be documented in the IEP. Can students take any type of MyAccess assessments? No, there are some limits. MyAccess flexibility is limited to adjacent levels of testing. This chart shows the limits between valid and invalid testing scenarios. The left green column outlines the valid testing scenarios based on adjacent levels of testing. The right orange column outlines the invalid testing scenarios based on non-adjacent levels of testing. Note, ELA and mathematics must be administered as a unit and cannot be split. The alternate content standards to which the assessment is aligned are as follows. English Language Arts and Mathematics measures the essential elements with the Michigan range of complexity. Science uses the new alternate content expectations. And Social Studies uses the extended grade level and high school content expectations for functional independence only. So where can you find these content standards? They are found in the header of the MyAccess webpage. When you select the links shown in the circle, you will be directed to the standards links. These links will take you directly to the standards along with the Michigan range of complexity. Knowing the MyAccess assessment types and the standards will help facilitate the IEP team's decisions for students. Understanding your role in the assessment process is a critical part to a successful administration regardless of your level of involvement. While every district is different, there are some key roles and responsibilities that must be assigned and completed by staff. Here are some specifics. District and school professional staff members play a key role in a successful administration of state assessments. Districts may adjust the roles and responsibilities to fit their size and organizational structure, but all roles must be filled in some way. Every role fulfills a critical piece to a successful administration. There are 4 critical roles associated with the MyAccess testing: district coordinators, building coordinators, test administrators, and technology coordinators. Let's look at each of these. The district coordinator's primary role is to be the lead for support and training for all staff involved in testing, along with other duties such as ensuring that the pre-identification of the students is completed in the secure site, making sure that buildings have the testing materials they need, and ordering materials as needed, ensuring the security compliance forms are completed, and test security procedure training for all staff is completed. Ensuring there is a clear process of handling test material securely and a chain of custody is established. Complete the security training modules hosted by Michigan Virtual. A refresher module is also available for those who have already completed the full assessment security modules at the link above. They must also read the Assessment Integrity Guide. Coordinators may decide whether administrators read the Assessment Integrity Guide or take the Michigan Virtual modules for test security. Ensure staff that have access to and receive test administration training as well. District coordinators also should be assisting the schools with receiving and returning test materials as needed. Districts have the choice in the secure site to have the materials delivered to the school or district. We have provided material return diagrams and return instructions in the manuals and on the web page. Coordinators can also manage the answer document and test verification process, typically open in June. This is the last chance to make sure all students are tested and demographics updated properly. If there are any testing irregularities related to testing, the coordinator is responsible for submitting an incident report in the secure site. The reports are processed and you will receive a reply from our staff. Review and distribute final reports will be coming out in the late summer on the OEAA secure site. OEAA has developed training for assessment coordinators and is posted on the top of the My Access webpage. This module-style presentation is chronologically laid out to help train coordinators and staff. Be sure to make this part of your overall training sessions. Now we move on to the school coordinator. School coordinators help manage the testing activities within the school building and work closely with the district coordinator. They coordinate staff training for administration and test security at their school. They ensure the students receive training for the Online Tools Testing System, or the OTTs, found on the My Access webpage at this link. They assist with receiving and returning test materials as needed. They have responsibility for implementation of test security procedures within the school, including monitoring the chain of custody of secure materials within the building. They review and distribute final reports that come out in the late summer on the OEAA secure site. Coordinators must complete the security training course hosted by Michigan Virtual, and they must also read the Assessment Integrity Guide and ensure staff have access to and have completed their training as well. The Assessment Coordinator training is also available on the My Access webpage for school coordinators. This module-style presentation will help train coordinators and staff. Be sure to make this part of your overall training sessions. Assessment administrators fulfill a very important role as the frontline administrator of the assessments and interact with students who are testing. Let's start off with the Functional Independence Assessment Administrator. This is primarily a one-on-one assessment between student and administrator. The assessment administrator should be familiar to the student. Administrators need to be a certified professional staff, such as the teacher, school psychologist, related service provider, or teacher consultant. They will assist in getting the student started in the booklet or logging into the test if testing online. Administrators monitor and keep students focused on the test at every step and help to minimize any distractions. For paper and pencil testing, the student responds by marking their answers in the booklet, and then the administrator must transfer the student responses from the booklet to the answer document. For online assessment, they will also have to assist the student with the testing environment as needed. There may be opportunities where the administrator takes over some of the technology for the student if needed to keep them focused and on task. We ask that they log in for the student as well and help the student submit and log out of the test. After all testing is complete, return all testing materials to your coordinator for return to the vendor. See the manual for complete return instructions. Administrators must also work with the coordinator to complete test security training. This Functional Independence Administration flowchart provides a side-by-side visual of the online and of the paper-pencil activities of the entire administration. It includes activities before, during, and after testing. It includes important dates for end-to-end assessment activities. This flowchart is also available on the My Access webpage. The supported independence and participation assessments are observational tests and rely on 2 administrators to assess a student. The primary assessment administrator, or the PAA, must be a certified professional staff member in order to administer the testing observations. This must be a teacher, school psychologist, related service provider, or teacher consultant. The Shadow Assessment Administrator, or the SAA, can be a staff member or other school personnel whose role is to observe and score student responses. This can be a highly qualified paraprofessional. The primary and shadow assessment administrators will score the student responses for each item simultaneously and independently during the testing. The scores are marked on the administrator's scoring documents that accompany the materials. The primary administrator will gather both scoring documents after testing and enter the scores in an online answer document. Administrators must work with the coordinator to complete test security training. This supported independence and participation administration flowchart is designed to provide a side-by-side visual of the paper and pencil administration and the online answer document score entry process. It includes activities before, during, and after testing. It includes important dates for end-to-end assessment activities. This flowchart is available in the Test Administration Manual and the MyAccess webpage. Online testing for FI requires technology support for computer setup for students taking online testing. Coordinators should complete an OEAA Assessment Security Compliance Form, download and install Insight and Central Office Services, or COS, on any devices new to online testing, be available during testing to troubleshoot and help school coordinators and test administrators, read the Assessment Integrity Guide and/or complete the MDE Assessment Security online course through Michigan Virtual, and review the Introduction to Testing Technology section of the Assessment Coordinator Training Guide on the MyAccess webpage. There is a great deal of preparation leading up to the MyAccess administration. The next section will prepare you and your staff for the administration. Let's review some of the major parts to getting ready. There are a variety of activities leading up to an administration, and a complete source to help manage the process can be found in the manuals. There are 2 Test Administration Manuals, or TAMs. One TAM is for the functional independence, and the other TAM covers the SI and P tests. The TAMs are designed to cover the unique features of online testing and the paper versions which are present in all areas of the MyAccess assessments. The TAMs are also divided into differing roles for ease of reference and training. The TAMs are available on the web page for downloading and sharing with staff. Printed versions are not provided by the MDE. The TAM provides general information which gives overall information about testing. The TAM provides an overview of the assessment components. The Supports and Accommodations gives details of student supports that are available. The TAMs are divided into roles for ease of reference. Testing activities are listed in the before, during, and after throughout the TAM to reflect sequences of testing. The Material Return section provides details for packing and shipping materials back after testing. As a reminder, the deadline to return materials is June 1st, 2022. The appendices provide additional resources and links to assist with the administration. Let's take a closer look at preparing for the assessments, and we'll start with the FI administration overview. FI offers 2 modes of testing, online and paper pencil. For the online assessment, most students taking the FI assessment online will specifically interact directly with that online platform and technology. They read the question and answer online by making an answer choice. For the online assessment, there are 2 parts for each assessment for each subject area. The students need to take both parts of the assessment, which means there will be 2 test tickets per subject area. Note, students taking ELA must complete the Expressing Ideas test using the paper version. Headphones are recommended since the text-to-speech feature automatically begins as the student starts the test. With a paper assessment, the students interact directly with that test booklet and circle their responses in the test booklet, not the answer document. The assessment administrator will be the one to transfer those answers onto the paper answer document. Note, the student should not receive or mark the answer document, only the administrator. The paper pencil version has several sections depending on the subject being assessed. The Expressing Ideas mentioned in the previous slide is a unique assessment. This is the constructed response portion of the ELA assessments. Based on your student enrollment in FI testing, materials were shipped to your school. Expressing Ideas is required for all students taking ELA and is only offered as a paper test. Students should respond to both prompts by writing, drawing, or a combination of both. If your students are using a scribe or other accommodations for the Expressing Ideas part of the assessment, please refer to the Supports and Accommodations table and manual to ensure that those supports are being administered according to proper guidelines. Those guidelines can be found on the MyAccess website under the Supports and Accommodations section. As an FI administrator, what do I need to do before the assessment begins? First, determine which staff member has access to the DRC Insight portal. How will student test tickets be disseminated to test coordinators? In most cases, it will be your school coordinator or maybe your district coordinator who will set up the sessions in the Insight portal and print the tickets for you. It is important that those individuals know which supports and accommodations your students require so that they may be put into the DRC Insight portal prior to printing test tickets. Make sure online students have access to training leading up to the test. There are online tools training, or OTTs, that may be accessed through the Insight portal, and an OTT guide can be found on the MyAccess webpage. The OTT gives students the ability to interact with the test engine and become familiar with the assessment tools, and then take some practice items that will give them practical experience in taking an online assessment. The testing environment for the student is important, and administrators should consider the following. The online assessments have 2 parts and may be given in any order. 2 test tickets are required. It doesn't matter which part is given first. Breaks are encouraged based on student need. Administrators would simply pause and exit the test, and there will be an example of that here in a moment. The ELA Expressing Ideas assessment is provided in paper pencil mode for all students, even those testing online for other parts of the test. To know what assessments and accommodations and supports are required for the student and ensure that those are listed on the test ticket. Administrators that are scribes for paper or online navigation must understand the protocol found in the Supports and Accommodations Guidance document on page 47, located on the MyAccess webpage. The Online Tools Training Program allows your students an opportunity to interact with an online program that will look and function like the test engine that will be used for the MyAccess Functional Independence online assessments. OTTs can be accessed at the link shown. They will only work in the Chrome browser. OTTs can also be accessed using the DRC software that your students will use to take the test. It is also recommended that students access the OTTs with the device that they will be testing with. Now let's move into the actual administration part of the testing. As an assessment coordinator and administrator for SI and P level assessments, there are several things to remember before testing. First, work closely with your coordinator to ensure that your students have been pre-ID'd in the OEAA Secure site for the assessment that is listed in their IEP. Coordinators must confirm sessions in the DRC Insight portal and print test tickets for entering scores in the online answer document after testing. Administrators must meet to schedule the testing and develop a plan for the assessments, such as the assessments have selected response and activity-based observation items which are designed to be embedded into the student's daily instruction. This will require planning to review the test and knowing the student's needs in advance of testing. The testing window is 7 weeks to complete. The scoring rubric is the guide to scoring students, and both the Primary Assessment Administrator, or the PAA, and the Shadow Assessment Administrator, or the SAA, must be very familiar with how to use the rubric. Set up a time to meet and discuss the rubric and how you both will apply it to your observations. Note, the rubric also appears at the top of the scoring documents for your easy reference. Both the PAA and SAA score the items based on the student's response to the prompt using the scoring documents provided for each assessment. The SI and P tests are observed using the scoring rubrics. The participation rubric is a 3-point update, while supported independence is 2 points. This rubric also appears on the header of the scoring documents for your convenience. A video-based training module is provided for the proper use of the rubric during administration. The module link for the training can be found under the Assessment Training and Resources for Educators section of the MyAccess webpage. This is a great classroom video demonstration of interaction between administrators and students during testing. The series also provides educational credits or sketches for those who complete this training. During the 7-week window for testing, the attention is focused on students and administrators helping the students. Now we will look at what to expect during test administration. Now to get started with the FI online testing. The first step is, once you have established where the students will be testing, what computers they will use, any accommodations needed, you're going to log the students into the assessment using the student's test ticket. We are asking that you do this rather than the students to avoid confusion and reduce any distractions. So you would use the test ticket to enter the student's username and password and then sign in. Important details to know about the online assessment. Assessment administrators should log into the assessment for the student. On screen 2, select the test that the student will be taking. The audio will automatically begin to read from this point. Headphones are required unless in a one-on-one administration. And review the test ticket to confirm if any listed accommodations are actively available. Once they click the Next button, they're going to enter the first part of the assessment, which is a review of the tools required to take the assessment, such as the pointer tool, the highlighter, the magnifier, and the calculator for the math assessments, and so forth. Please note this is just a review. This is not an in-depth instruction on how to use each of the tools. For in-depth instruction on how to use each tool, please rely on the Online Tools Training Program. The text-to-speech feature will begin to read the assessment with a highlighting follow-along feature. If this is distracting for a student, the audio can be turned down or off, and the follow-along can be turned off by clicking on the Options button at the bottom of the screen. Audio settings allow students and administrators to control this feature. Please note, be sure the volume is on for the 2 listening items at the start of Part 2 of the online ELA assessment. After the tools review, the student will read or hear instructions and click the Begin the Test button. This will take the student to the first question of the test. If you're taking a break, do not submit the test. Select Pause and then resume within the 20-minute timer. If you want to take a longer break, select Pause and exit the test. This will save responses and allow you to return to the test later. You may resume testing by using the test ticket again to log in. OEAA strongly encourages administrators to be aware of the student and take breaks as needed. When the student is done, they will be prompted to raise their hand at this review screen. This is where the assessment administrator will review the items to see if the student has answered all of the items. If there is an item that has been flagged or left unanswered, you should click on the item or the row to take the student back and ask, "Are you finished with this question?" Do not give a prompt to complete the item, just raise awareness with the student. Once the test is finished and you are ready to submit the test, click the End Test button at the bottom of that review screen page. Once the End Test button is selected, you will be prompted to submit or return to the test. If you're ready to submit the student's test, click the Submit button. There are a variety of training videos available both for you and for your students to learn more about how to take the assessment. Access to the library of training can be found at the DRC Insight portal. Select the link by the Documents and Training Materials to access the library of training materials. DRC has provided a new optional feature called the Test Monitoring Application, along with a how-to mini module to get familiar with this valuable tool. Under the Documents tab, you will see a variety of different resources that are helpful to your technology coordinator and to your building coordinators. You can also use the Test Tutorials tab on that same page to access a tutorial available for students. It is strongly recommended that you take students through this video tutorial as it walks them through the testing software. Students should first view the tutorial and then participate in hands-on practice with the online training tools or the OTTs. Once you select the tutorials, you will see there are 5 different modules available. These modules are to be used with your students covering Welcome to the Online Tutorial, taking the practice test, taking the real test, navigating the test, pausing, editing, and ending the test. The modules demonstrate how the testing environment works from start to finish. Let's switch gears a little bit now and talk about the administration of supported independence and participation levels of the assessment. Unlike other tests, the booklets are not for students. The PAA and SAA use the booklet to plan their presentation of test items to the students based on their needs. There are 2 types of questions for the assessments. One is a selected response format in which the student will be presented with picture cards or objects to answer the question. We do encourage administrators to utilize classroom items during testing that the students are familiar with due to routine daily use. The assessments also have activity-based observation items. These are items in which students are asked to respond to specific scenarios. The assessment administrator will ask a question, and the student is scored based upon their response. Both types of assessment items are intended to be instructionally embedded into the school day, which requires you to look at those assessment booklets for planning purposes. Here is an example of what administrators might see in the Assessment Administrator booklet. You will see the question and the 2 answer choices, and the scoring focus. The scoring focus relates directly to the alternate content standard that's being measured. In this case, comparing lengths and describing them as either longer, longest, shorter, or shortest. In this case, we are asking the question, which is longer? The selected response items will be presented to the student with the picture cards that come with the test materials. They are presented to the student twice and in a different order. The OEAA recommends telling students beforehand about presenting twice so as to not confuse them. Supported independence will have 3 pictures and also require presenting pictures twice in a different order. Present the picture cards to the student while asking the question, and they should indicate what they believe is the correct answer by pointing to it. The pictures are presented initially while the student responds. The pictures are then shuffled and the question is asked a second time. It is important to present them in a different order to account for possible dominant side bias or guessing. Follow the rubric on the scoring documents. The student must select correctly both times the items that are presented to be counted as correct. The supported independence and participation assessments will include instructions with each selected response item. The instructions will provide concise information about each item itself and how to present it to the student. This includes read-aloud instructions for each item. It will outline which parts of an item may not be read to the student, and sample adaptations for students with visual impairments. Often, students at this level may have complicating physical limitations in their ability to see items clearly. These samples may offer helpful ideas on how to adapt classroom items into the testing environment to help students engage with the items. Take a few moments to review these instructions during your planning. Also, the assessments will include general instructions for all of the activity-based observation questions. The instructions provide an overview on how to adapt items in order to present it to students who are blind or may have visual impairments. This includes developing unique activities that match the student's experience from a typical day of instruction. Presenting the item twice is not required as with selected response items, and expanding options to introduce sounds as an option. The activity-based items have several components. The directions are a simple reminder to use typical methods during testing, as in the classroom routines, in order to engage the student in the observation. The activity is the item itself, and this may be adapted to fit the situation for each student so it aligns with the scoring focus. Each item provides examples of how the activity may be used. The scoring focus is what the activity is designed to measure when looking at the student responses. So how do you keep track of all the student scores or report these scores? This is accomplished using the scoring documents to track the student scores, then entering them in the online answer document. The form number must be completed at the top of the scoring document and should be taken directly from the assessment booklet cover. The scoring documents contain the link to the online answer document where the PAA will enter these scores after testing. The scoring rubric appears in the header, so it may be referenced when you're observing the students. There are no paper answer documents. The primary and shadow administrators don't coordinate their responses. They respond to what they see and mark it down on the scoring documents. Scoring documents arrive with the testing materials, and they are also posted on the web page to download and print as needed. Sign the scoring document to confirm that these are your observations of the student. After testing is completed, the PAA will gather the scoring documents for both the PAA and the SAA, obtain the testing ticket, which is shown on the left side of the screen, log into the link to get into the answer document using the test ticket. Note, the username and passwords on the login are not case sensitive. There will be a login page that opens. You can see the red double arrows that call for the username, password, test type to be entered at that point, and the online answer document will open. A confirmation window will open to verify the student information. Then click the Continue button. First, enter the form number from the drop-down at the top of the online answer document. Make sure to match the form number from the booklet used for the student. If you try to submit without a form number selected, you will receive a reminder to select it. The online answer documents display in a stacked format with the primary administrator's answer document at the top in blue for participation. The shadow administrator answer document appears in the lower window shaded in gray. Both windows use a scroll feature with the rubric header frozen for ease of reference at the top of each window. The supported Independence online answer document is laid out in the same format with a different color, green, and it is designed to enter the SI scores from the test observation based on the unique rubric for the SI assessments. It has the same functionality as the participation answer document. Once all the scores are entered, you may submit them. The online answer document is designed to alert you if some entries or form numbers are missing and provide a warning message. The online answer document is accessible with a simple internet connection. One practical means of entering the scores is by using an iPad or touchscreen device and a stylus. This allows for quick and precise entry of scores into the online answer document. Where can you learn more? The DRC Insight portal provides training documents for how to get in and enter these scores in the online answer document. After accessing through this link, go to All Applications, General Information, Document tabs, and you can filter as needed. You can view the tutorial of the mini modules and how to enter the scores as mentioned. Now, in wrapping this up, there are some administrative tips I'd like to leave with you, and these may seem somewhat simple, but they're quite important and have some real consequences if not handled properly. Students must be enrolled as special ed in MSDS. If that is not marked, the scores for the student will be invalidated for any MyAccess tests taken. The ELA expressing ideas of the FI ELA test is paper only and is required for all ELA tests, whether it's taken online or in the paper version. Your material orders will include the paper expressing ideas portion of the ELA test for all students pre-ID'd to an FI ELA test. The FI answer documents for paper pencil testers are to be completed by the test administrator. Students record their answers in the test booklet, and the test administrator then transcribes the student responses onto the paper answer document. The exception is the expressing ideas, writing, and drawing portion of the answer document. All students will respond to these items directly in the answer document. Accommodations that are listed in the IEP that are going to be used during testing should not be foreign to the students. It should be part of their routine daily instruction. We don't want to introduce something brand new to them in the testing environment, which could cause some unnecessary distractions. Also, a number 2 pencil is very important from the standpoint of the scanning. Scanning machinery work most efficiently with the graphite found in the number 2 pencil, so it may be tempting to use something different, but the number 2 pencil is what is required as part of the minimum requirements for reading entries to the answer document. Now, FI administrators may help with the tests, but not on the test items. This is for paper pencil as well as the online. We don't want the technology to be a distraction for the student. For that reason, the administrator may not provide hints or critical questioning about an item, but they may help with the navigation and engagement. Read the manuals found on the web page. These are designed to assist with each phase of the administration. For P and SI, be sure to record the form number from the administrator booklet on the scoring documents. This is needed for entering the scores online after testing observations are complete. The Accountable Students and Answer Document verification process will open in June. Please monitor the Spotlight newsletter for the exact date. This is your last opportunity to ensure MDE has received all paper, pencil, and online answer documents. Test coordinators should also verify that all students taking a MyAccess assessment have been enrolled in the correct grade. Preliminary score reports are provided to schools and districts within 48 hours of an online test submission through the Dynamic Score Reporting site, which is accessed through the OEAA Secure site. When testing has been completed, there are a few activities that are required. Often, some schools and districts may overlook a few critical items when wrapping up testing, so we'll cover some key points to remember. The final process of the administration is packing and shipping materials back for scoring. This includes all secure testing materials. The manuals provide a chapter on the materials that must be returned and those items that must be retained or securely destroyed. Included in the TAM is a packing diagram shown here that provides a quick reference on how to pack and ship your material returns. Please take the time to review this chart and the material return section if you are a coordinator. Note the final date for material return shipping is June 1st, 2022. Another feature of the manual is a chart that describes how materials should be processed. Some materials may be destroyed, like unused answer documents and test tickets along with the rosters. Schools need to retain the P and SI scoring documents and the security compliance forms for at least 3 years. All other materials associated with testing must be returned for processing. See the chart for details or the TAM material return section. There will always be some questions that arise, and for that reason, we have a couple of avenues for you to ask and get answers. Your questions may be sent to mde-oeaa@michigan.gov, or you may call 877-560-8378. Please make sure that in the subject line you put a brief description so that we can get the question routed properly. For weekly updates from the OEAA, please subscribe to the Spotlight for timely articles, announcements, important dates, and deadlines. A link to the Spotlight is found on the My Access webpage. Thank you for your commitment to the children of Michigan and your help in administering the My Access assessments.